Hey guys, you probably watched this yesterday, but then I realized I didn't do enough research, and basically this is going to be re-upload with some fixes. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Panstar Dragon, and today we'll be doing the top 5 best AD carries for solo queue as of patch 5.8. In the latest patch, Graves got a nerf to his Q, Jinx got a nerf to her ultimate, and Blade of Ruin King and Runon's Hurricane have gotten a buff and indirectly buff a certain someone. I'm not sure who, but these changes actually mean that the tier list must change. And now with all that being said, let's get started. So first up we have Hugh Jackman. So even though Hugh Jackman did get nerfed in this patch a bit on his Q, I think his burst is actually still pretty good. I mean, it's only 20 damage off his Q at level 9, and during the laning phase, usually the levels is determined by levels 1 to 6. So you're looking at basically 10 damage off his Q, which isn't that big of a deal. Does he still have his burst combo with his Q and R and killing everyone in a team fight? Yes. Is he pretty tanky for an AD carry? Of course, his passive. Doesn't he have an escape, which gives him attack speed? Yes, he does. So honestly, it's not that big of a deal that got nerfed. He's still going to be a good AD carry. And yeah, there's not much to say about him. He's always been good. He's really good in the early game and mid game, and he's actually better than Corki in the late game. He contributes to the team fight with his Q and R. The only thing I don't really like about Graves is his late game. It kind of falls off because he's kind of short ranged, but basically that's the only thing that's holding him back. If he is a really fed AD carry and he has like a Bloodthirster IE and Phantom Dancer, it's going to be really hard to take him down. Next at number 4 is going to be Bayonetta. I don't know her actual name, but decent game. So Vayne, pretty good in the current meta right now since there is a bunch of tanks, and she is a tank killer with her silver bolts. Plus, it's really hard for tanks to actually kill her, and the only thing that really can kill her are assassins. Since she has to get up and close and she doesn't have the biggest escape, all she has is a tumble, which is good for kiting around tanks since they can't burst her and she creates a little small distance to kite them. But for assassins, she's going to need a bigger escape as they have instantaneous burst and can kill her in one go. The Blade of Ruin King buffed indirectly buffs her, but not by that much. She's also one of the few AD carries who can 1v1 other champions, and some cons of Vayne is that she does have a weak laning phase, so if you can get by through that, then good for you. But most matchups are going to be pretty hard since she doesn't have a lot of poke. She's also pretty short range and she only has single target damage, while most AD carries have like AoE of some sort. Alright, so number 3 we do have Kim Possible. So this girl, probably one of the best AD carries in the late game, just because she's really long range, has so much damage in her kit, and also has pretty decent CC. So even though she got a nerf to her ultimate, it was never really meant to be used, close up in front like a shotgun. Sometimes it would be more efficient to just auto attack the enemy to death and use your rocket to snipe them if they got away. So I don't feel like that ultimate nerf really meant anything. But anyways, she still got it. If she gets fed in the early game, the game is basically over unless you can kill her with a bunch of divers or assassins, as she scales incredibly into the mid game and late game. And in teamfights, she has a passive where basically she can clean up a lot of kills since she gets increased movement speed, and then snowball even harder. One thing of course that counters her is a bunch of assassins and divers since she doesn't have any escapes except for flash, but that's about it. Just hope to God you have people who are peeling for you. And at number 2 we do have Xena, the warrior princess. I don't know if you guys understand that reference because it's a really old show, but anyways, has Sivir been touched yet? No? Okay. Does she give free movement speed to her whole team? Yes. Can she wave clear? Yes, she's got Q and W. How about her laning phase? Personally, I don't like it, but I'm not an AD carry main. And now, the biggest reasons why I feel like she's really good, of course, was the movement speed and to spell shield that one spell that could either lock her down or kill her, or maybe it does like 500 damage. In the late game, it's on a 10-second cooldown, so that's actually really good. It makes her actually pretty hard to kill. And even though she has 500 range with all that movement speed, it's still going to be really hard to catch her and lock her down. Plus, she's also one of the few AD carries who can initiate and chase people down. Next up at number 1 is Khaleesi. So it's either going to be her or it's going to be Sivir, but I'm going to just put my bet and say she's probably number 1 right now. Just because Runon's Hurricane has 10 more damage on hit, and it costs 100 gold more, but it's still worth it. And Blade of Ruin King, you can lifesteal off the passive now. And so since you have the Runon's Hurricane, you're going to be lifestealing a little bit more in teamfights. The reason I didn't like her a few patches ago was because that attack speed nerf to her auto attacks. I felt like it was actually pretty noticeable and a decent impact on her. And like, maybe I misjudged her too much, maybe she deserved to be in the top 5, but with this, I feel like she deserves the top 1 spot right now. You know, she's obviously more of the mid-game champion and kind of falls off later in the game, just because there's a lot more damage coming from the enemy, and it's a bit risky to kite around those enemies and auto-attack them unless you're like way ahead of them. But otherwise, her mid-game is insanely strong once you get that Runons and Blader Rune King, especially with this tank meta, of course. And as an honorable mention, I like to give a shout out to my boy Draven. He likes to snowball very well once he gets that first kill, and he does a shit ton of damage with his Q. He also has probably one of the highest DPS when he has 2 Qs rotating on his arms, but I do feel like he takes a lot of skill to play, so if you are a Draven main, congratulations for you, you're going to be climbing the ladder. Next up at number 23, we have the king, LeBron James. LeBron James is actually decent in the meta. He's got like a decent mid game. I don't really like his late game because, you know, his short range. And then he's got his laning phase, which is actually pretty decent because he can poke the enemies with his Q. But one thing I don't like is, since he falls off late game, I feel like he needs to get an early game lead or else he's gonna fall off. And yeah, he can definitely kite around these tanks, and he's really good at assassinating enemy squishies if he can get on them, since his burst is pretty high, but I do feel like there are better picks than him. Next up, we do have the Hip Hop Helicopter. So as you guys know, Corki's always been a solid champion. He hasn't been touched for a while. He's got his solid physical and magic damage, so that is really good if, say, your team has a lot of physical damage. And he can contribute to the magic damage factor. And once he gets his Trinity Force, he gets a huge power spike, and so he can go into the mid game and just kill everyone and be very powerful. He also does scale with levels, so once he reaches level 11, that means his rockets will be doing a ton of damage, and that's where he excels at. Now there are some cons of Corki that I don't like, and some of those are he's not long range, except, you know, his poke coming from his R. He falls off late game because he has no AD steroids or attack speed steroids, any of that, and the spells don't do as much damage as they would in the early stages in mid game, and Q can be somewhat hard to hit in lane. But other than that, he's still pretty solid. Hey boys and girls, thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy this video, maybe you'll enjoy some other tier lists right up there. There's going to be top, jungle, and mid laners. And for the jungles, I'm not actually sure if I'm going to do it. I have to do a lot more research on that because I don't think a lot has changed since like my last jungle tier list, but I still have to look at it for sure. But the other two will definitely get something definitely getting worth looking at. Yeah. So anyways, thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm Panther Dragon, your host, and I'll see you guys next time.